Welcome back, Guardians, to another episode of the DTR podcast. I am your host, Jay. I am the content manager here at the Trekker Network. And my co-host this week, first up we have J Ram. J Ram, what's up, my friend? How are you? Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, great. It feels good to be back. The last 2 weeks have been hectic.
I understand. Next up we have Darkside Royalty Lord Joker. Joker, welcome back.
What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again, once again. Yes, I always have to do that because apparently
it's okay.
Jay loves it.
I do.
It is good.
It's a great intro. It's a great intro. Our special guest this week is Rick Kackis. Kackis, what's up? It's great to have you here. Super excited.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I think it'll be fun.
It is going to be fun because we are fun people.
We're gonna make it fun whether you want to be or not.
See. So guys, we have a great show lined up for everyone this week. We're going to dive into our content creator Q&A, talk about our most fun in video games this week. We're going to talk about some Iron Banner, the latest D2 news. We're going to do lore facts with Joker. We're going to do Tell Me Something I Don't Know, our last word segment, and then we're going to wrap up the show. There's always a packed agenda, but before we dive into all of that, I do have a few announcements to make as always. So you guys can find the DTR podcast on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and the Google Play Store. Our Destiny Tracker podcast. The show is recorded on Fridays at 7:45 p.m. Eastern, live on twitch.tv/DestinyTrack. You guys can support the show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts. Make sure to follow us on Podbean and then leave a review back on Apple Podcasts. Make sure to check out Dan Fennety's show, #SideQuest Sunday. You guys can find out all your favorite podcast services at SideQuest Sunday and on Twitter at SideQuest Sunday. And then you guys can find him on Twitter at Dan Fenna Twitch. All right, Kackis, I'm going to pass it on to you for our content creator Q&A. Do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well... Everyone calls me Rick Kackis. Our real name's Andrew. There's not really a secret behind that because I used to introduce myself as like Andrew or Rick Kackis, but let's just call me Rick Kackis. It gets confusing when it's when the real name's thrown out there. When you hear your real name, if someone calls you by your real name when you're playing online, you kind of get that little invasive almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started on YouTube years and years ago. Did Call of Duty, because that was the thing back in the day. Did some Call of Duty, switched to Borderlands, switched to Battlefield 4, found my way into Destiny, and here we are.
So how did you get into YouTube content creation?
Basically it was Modern Warfare 2. Dude, at the time, it was like the game to play. I was actually really good at Modern Warfare 2. And so, like, you were watching other people on YouTube. I remember, like, watching, back in the day, it was like C9ers and those people posting just gameplay. And I was like, dang, I'm good at the game. I can do this too. A year later, got myself a Hapage, which, like, now no one uses because it's all about the Elgato and setup, and did some horrendous Modern Warfare 2 videos. And then eventually, but just stuck at it, frankly.
So how exactly did you get the name Rick Kackis?
Basically, I had my brother made his Xbox gamer tag rice cakes or something, but he had a bunch of like, instead of E's, it was 3's and so on. And one of my friends was kind of mocking him and said, "Oh, it looks like your name is Rick Kackis." So I changed my gamer tag to make fun of my brother, and it's stuck.
Wow, nice. All right. So, Joker, I'm going to pass it on to you for your questions for Rick.
Oh, okay. So you do actually kind of across the board with Destiny content. You do guides, you do kind of like weapon, oh, hey, this is what's found in the database type stuff. You also even kind of dabble into a little bit of lore here and there.
I'm pretty light on the lore.
Ish. I will say you definitely tend to be more knowledgeable than a lot of people who try to incorporate it into their videos, and I respect that. I never get the feeling like if you do bring something kind of like game or lore related, I never feel like you're like talking out your ass. I
try to watch other people's lore videos. If I'm gonna talk specifically about it, I'm like, okay, who the heck is Nokris? Oh, okay, and then I'll go back.
But what is your like going from that? What kind of content draws you to kind of keep coming back? Because let's be honest, Destiny has kind of been in a rut, but we're all Destiny content creators.
Are you sure about that? No, I haven't noticed anything. What do you mean? Views have just been climbing. I don't know what you're talking about. Dude, Fortnite, dead game. Destiny 2 is where it's at. Yeah, so my response to that is, well, I like making guides. Like, that's kind of my bread and butter. I like going out and, making the guide for a really good gun, or, what are the top auto rifles you can use right now for Masterworks, or what should you turn into a Masterwork, what should you spend, that type of thing. I like making those guides. I like diving into stats often and comparing stuff and trying to help people out. The thing is, when that's going well, again, that's my bread and butter. When Destiny 2 first came out, I'm making the guides for how to get all these different exotics, how to level up faster, how to do the raid. The Leviathan raid guide for dummies is like 3 million views or whatever right now. Somehow didn't end up on trending, even though that's a whole different thing.
Let's not talk about YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Gamers, man, unless you're... anyways. But, like you said, Destiny 2 kind of started to withdraw. The player base started to go down, and frankly, just the game it is now, I think you guys would agree, there's not that much to make guides on, because it's like, we have such a simplistic weapon system, you have such a clear meta often, you can't get random rolls, just the amount of content you can make in that area goes down. So, you kind of have to adapt, and that's why I've done some stuff. I've done the news videos, which is, I think, a lot of people are very interested in, and also keeping people updated with, where Destiny is headed, I think, is very important. Because a lot of people I found a lot of people who left Destiny who are not playing the game anymore. They're still watching videos about the next update, about the next change, because they're kind of looking for an excuse to come back.
My audience.
Yeah, they want an excuse to come back into the game and like, oh, is it fixed now? Is it better now? Yep. So I think that's a thing that people really are interested in.
It is kind of weird because this community, like a lot of other game communities, would just be like, okay, I'm done. Like, look at Halo. They just die. They go to Call of Duty or whatever. But like Destiny, there is this like, you walk away from it, but you're always kind of looking back, to see, how it evolves and if it gets to where it can be played. But talking about the weapon system and whatnot, and I think we'll probably wade into the Iron Banner a little more later, especially with the emote and all that contrivancy. But like, if you look at the Iron Banner weapons, it's kind of like, why would I go after any of these? So
I did that review video on, like, I just looked at all of them in the army, and I was in the database, and I was basically like, yeah, these are all stats wise exactly the same as a million guns already have. Perks wise, no reason to go after them. It ends very depressing when you see that.
Yeah, so with the weapon system, do you think the end-all be-all would be the return to the random rules, or do you think that there's something kind of... Yeah, this is the question. Do you think...
I'll tell you right now, no. You cannot just introduce random rolls. I remember I did a big video called like Why Loot Sucks, and I went into like all these things, but essentially, like, if you just took the weapon system now and added random rolls, it wouldn't do anything. Why? Okay, look at Omelon, or not even Omelon, but look at the 450 auto rifles, right? So you have the number, have the Uriel's gift, and you have the prosecutor, all that stuff, all right? Those guns are basically just random rolls of the same gun. Like the Uriel's gift, the number, the new one that has Dragon or Firefly or whatever.
I love that gun. Yeah.
Yeah, the great gun. The positive outlook, but they all have virtually identical stats, and then just different perks. So they're really just literally one gun that has different perks, because the stats are the same and the way they behave is the same. And if you're shooting them and you didn't know which gun you were shooting, you almost wouldn't know which gun it is.
Yep.
Right? So if they added random rolls, it just wouldn't work. You just get more numbers. You get more Uriel's gifts. You get guns you already have in the game. They need to go back to the Destiny 1 style of like multiple main perks, stuff like that. Perks like rifle barrel and stuff that actually affect the weapon stats more than just a tiny, tiny bit. They're going to have to change the weapon system and add random rolls.
Yep. No, I agree. What I was more so talking about is in, say, something like Dark Souls, where you have you could go farm a boss and get loot and yada, yada, yada. Do you think that that would be a better compromise? We're trying to figure out what the compromise would be, because there is a hardcore group of people that are like, no, I like the static rolls. I like to be able to go after a weapon and know that if I get that weapon, I've got that weapon. But then you got the grinders.
I agree. Yeah, that's for like raid weapons and exotic weapons. That has it covered, right?
Yep.
For like you can make these specialty weapons. I would say, like, again, raid weapons, exotic weapons, escalation protocol weapons, have those static rolls. That's fine. And then you have those weapons you can go out and get. It would be very annoying if you had to go and get random rolled raid weapon, right? If you had to go and randomly roll the Fatebringer, it wouldn't be the Fatebringer. So that's why Bungie did it. They were looking ahead. For the rest of the guns, Crucible guns and all of the quote-unquote forgettable guns, you know, that's where you bring random rolls into effect. There isn't a one solution. You know, it is a compromise. And Destiny 1 had that compromise. Destiny 2 doesn't have a compromise. It just has the one thing. And, you know, look what's happening.
Oh, yeah. No, I've always said that, like, exotics should probably be the meta. If you look at Destiny 1, exotics were pretty much the meta until, like, the last year. And then, like, the legendary should be this kind of auxiliary grind. Like, if I want something that's not the last word, right? Maybe I want this Aya Saluna because I like the way it looks. Well, then I can go get a really good God-rolled Aya Saluna, but the last word is still the meta. You know, and then this other gun can compete with it. But everybody has access to the last word, right? So it's not like, oh, well, I don't have access to this meta weapon because I can't get this God roll. No, everybody has access to it.
But I think just that complaint, we heard a lot.
Yeah,
I remember so many Reddit posts being like, I can't get an IS Luna. I grind every week and I can't get it. And it's like, well, hold on. Let's pause for a sec. What did you just say? You grind every week and you're trying to get the IS Luna. There's the thing, right? Like, people are so quick to, like, I want everything right now. And they just are not thinking ahead. And if you go back and deconstruct the argument, again, you're still motivating people to play every single week to get those random rolls. That's justification in and of itself. Right now, you went from annoyed that you couldn't get that weapon playing every week to not playing at all. And what's worse, right?
Yep. Oh, no, exactly. That's essentially where I was getting to, is it is this kind of self-defeating argument, you know? What do you want? Do you want a game that will last a couple? Even Destiny 1, you know, we had dry spells. We had a year without content. There were still people playing it because they wanted those rolls. You know, they wanted those guns. You know, now it's like, yeah, we have a bunch of... I would say that the quantity of content in the DLCs has actually been better now. The quality is arguable, but the quantity has been much more.
Maybe.
I would argue that
I would say House of Wolves was, like, more substantial.
Okay. No, I could see that, yeah. But like, if you look at, like, Dark Below or whatever, you know.
I get what you're saying. I agree. It's like, we're getting a lot of content, but the content doesn't last.
Exactly. That's, you know, where I'm getting at. So we have these content drops where it's like, oh, yay, we have, you know, all this new content, but there's nothing worth chasing it. There's nothing to do in it once you've done it once. You know,
there's zero depth.
Yeah, there's zero depth. It's like you have an entire ocean, but it's ankle deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what can they do to improve it? Like, improve the depth of the content,
Well, for me, you know, in the immediate kind of right in front of you, that you don't have to, you know, long-term, redesign the weapon system, change the weapon slot system, all of that stuff, very important. Short-term, like, it's almost dumbfounding that they're not doing kind of simplistic things that would make content more replayable. Story missions, right? I got, you know, a lot of people upset when I did my, like, review of Warmind, and I said, look, Destiny 2 is not a story, or Destiny is not a story-driven game, because it's not. People are going to be, like, kind of anxious about that, but 99% of people play the campaign once and move on, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tiny fraction of the overall experience. How do you improve that? Simple. You have campaign missions, replayable on harder difficulties with real rewards. You could even have, like, a thing where you replay each mission in the campaign in a row, right? Like with heroic difficulty, whatever. And then if you beat it, you get an exclusive story-specific weapon, just like they have for Escalation Protocol. The Escalation Protocol weapons are sweet. They're unique. They're desirable. If they didn't have those weapons, right? Imagine if they just had the Escalation Protocol rewards were just armor, no one would care. But because they have these weapons, everyone's really trying to get Escalation Protocol Wave 7 complete, right? Yeah. So just use those type of things for story missions. Have story-specific weapons just as cool as escalation weapons. They could, strike. There's Nightfall exclusive loot. Why? There should also be strike exclusive loot. Double down on that. And it's like, you're asking. People are gonna be like, you're asking the devs for a lot. You're asking them to design all these weapons stuff, but it's like, it's probably gonna take more work to design this campaign that everyone's gonna play once. Like, people put a little effort into getting these like exclusive weapons that are tied to
all their assets are modular, so they can just mash them together. Like, they have just all the bits and pieces. So.
Unique perks. It's just the escalation weapons are a perfect model of like loot done right to make an activity desirable.
Yeah. Right.
Not to cut you off, but the more I think about this, the more I actually enjoy it, which is, and I know people are like, oh, it's recycled content, but making certain story missions replayable strikes.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was a good idea.
It's a great idea. Especially if the story is meaningful and there's some sort of investment, like what you mentioned earlier, as far as like maybe a story specific weapon or something like that.
Yep.
Where you have to play that mission X amount of times, but within that mission, you have a certain way of doing it. Does that make sense?
We kind of saw this, not to cut off the cutoff, but we kind of saw this in Destiny 1, right? Where you'd have your campaign missions, all right? And then you'd have this kind of strike that was off into the side, right? Like Devil's Lair was like that. That was the completion of the kind of Cosmodrome campaign part. And then the Omnigul strike was kind of the completion of a lot of the Crota's End stuff that was going on at the main campaign before you went on to the raid. But it wasn't necessarily part of the story either. It was like you knew this thing existed, you knew you'd eventually have to face it, but it wasn't a replacement for parts of the story. It was something to the side.
I think it's just like do both. I think, again, as to what was already said, repurposing the missions as strikes, I think was a very good idea. And if Bungie's going to do that, double down. Like, why isn't the end mission where you kill Gaul? Why isn't that a strike? Like, that could easily be a strike, and a fun one too. Yeah. But if you're going to do that, you can't. People are going to feel ripped off. You have to add 1 or 2 strikes independent of that story. They did one, but it's PlayStation only, so they shot themselves in the foot. If that one strike, was available for everyone, they could say, hey, look, instead of getting 2 strikes, you're getting 3 strikes. 2 of them are repurposed. I think people would be a little bit more okay with that. Like, do both. Design 2 new strikes and then repurpose the missions, right? It doesn't cost you anything to repurpose the campaign missions you would have had to do anyways, right? You're designing them to be strikes. So then you have 4 strikes being added, which is a big selling point. And people are going to be okay if they get both rather than just one of the 2 options.
Especially if those campaign strikes come in and they have like strike-specific loot that you want to grind for.
Like, dude, I grinded this stupid rocket launcher with cluster bombs. Like, I played that freaking Nightfall like 50 times to get that damn thing, but it's a decent weapon and it's desirable, and that's very good. The Will of the Thousands doesn't seem to have any strike loot as far as I know, according to the database, but who knows? Yeah.
So how would you improve Escalation Protocol?
I think it's a good activity right now. Honestly, like it's really good. I think the main problem is just the matchmaking. It's just like it's so annoying to get people in there. And then Bungie came out recently with the news and said it's designed for 3 people. Yes, the top tier people, me at 385 and 2 other of my best PvE people on my friends list, we maybe could get it done, right? But it would be sweaty as heck, and it probably wouldn't be that fun, and it definitely wouldn't be accessible to other players. So just, it's a really fun activity if you have 9 people in there. You got people tethering and then hammers. And I don't know why Bungie doesn't facilitate this. And they should recognize, hey, people like this activity. They like playing with a large 9-person party. Let's facilitate this. Let's make this more possible and easier for players.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to throw this out here for you, man. Did you play much Halo?
A decent amount.
Yeah, I always come back to Halo for a lot of my analogies. Well, in Halo Reach, they took, and I mean, Gears of War does this. You know, a lot of
Fire
things,
Team
the
mode,
horde
Fire
mode,
Base.
zombie modes. Yeah, where they take like multiplayer maps, okay, and they throw the horde mode on the multiplayer map. But with escalation protocol, they clearly want to use the in-world assets, right? So why don't they just take like, you know, all the planets that we have, kind of section off an area, then put its own matchmaking hopper, and when you go into the matchmaking hopper, it brings 9 people, and you fly on in, and you do the escalation protocol like a horde mode.
I don't know,
And
man.
then,
That makes
you
too
know,
much sense.
Everybody in there is there to be there. You don't have some guy just running off, and you're like, oh, maybe he'll join. Hopefully he'll join, because I think that's going to be the punishment for a lot of the, I don't want to say casual players, but because I think it does encompass even more than the just casual players. Like, unless they're the top % sweaty players, you know, you're going to be trying to get a team together. You're going to be trying to get 9. You're going to be messaging some random dude in your zone going, hey, can you invite my buddy?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's a bad idea. I think the reason it was done this way is like you load into Warmind for the first time, you see a group trying to do escalation, you're going to be like, wow, like this seems intense. You know, you get beaten down, and then there's something to work towards. I understand why it was done. It just, you know, when you're actually trying to beat it, it's difficult enough that the average player, and then it doesn't make any sense. Bungie came out in the update and said this was designed as a stepping stone to max level, and then also in this like literally paragraph under was like, this is an activity designed around max level. Well, which is it? Is it an activity designed to get to max level, or is it an activity for max level players? You can't have both.
And I haven't gone through the escalation protocol, so I may be wrong. But if I'm not mistaken, there's no drops between start and finish, right?
There's a wave 3 drop, there's a wave 5 drop, and there's a wave 7 drop. And wave 3 and 5 don't provide. They're like nothing. They're like a public event chest.
That's what I meant.
Minor. Yeah. And wave 7 is the only thing where you're gonna get. You killing the boss gives you the weapon, of course, and then the chest gives you 1 armor piece, which, I mean, it looks sweet and it's powerful, so it'll help you level up. But armor is just cosmetic in D2. It has literally no effect on gameplay. Yeah. So half the loot in the game is pointless, basically. If you are just focused on improving gameplay and you don't care about how you look, armor is completely pointless. Which is like, think about how much loot in the game is just like no one cares about because it's armor.
Yeah. Who misses trying to juggle their grenades with their super
tier 12,
and trying to like
get to tier 12,
get that like 0 melee because you're a Titan and melee doesn't do anything?
Well, I just want to interject this real fast. I think Bungie has this romanticism with the idea of everybody's going to go into the social space and just start talking to each other and being friends and everything. But if that's the case, then how come, you know, voice chat or text chat on PC is always opt-in and not opt-out?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And let's be honest, the guy that's or the guy or girl that's 370, 375, 380, whatever, chances are they already have a group of people that they're playing with because they ran raids together, and that's how they got that light level up or power level up so high. So in order to get escalation protocol to actually be better, there has to be a more systematic, or at least a more intelligent way of getting people involved in that stuff, whether it's matchmaking or whether it's or whether it's being, you know, a little icon on the destination where it says escalation protocol, and you click on that.
100% agree with what you say, and it's like it's more fun to have 9 people. If you have someone who just bought Destiny and they get randomly invited and they decide to join, and they're like, hey, we have 8 people, can we join with you? You can be our 9th person. You're gonna have so much fun. That's gonna be such a crazy experience for you, right? I don't know why Bungie doesn't facilitate that easier, like to make it easier on those people to experience that. Because if you experience a 9-person escalation protocol, you're gonna be like, this is so fun. The next day I'm gonna try again, right? That's the feeling you want to have.
Yeah. So what exactly made Archon's Forge and Court of Oryx work back in D1?
I don't know if they worked that well.
No, they were enjoyable, and and don't confuse enjoyable with me having a great time.
Okay.
All right. What made it work? What made it work first is with Court of Oryx, you had to grind to get those keys. Then you got those keys, and hopefully you had friends to play with, or there were people already at the Court of Oryx waiting around for somebody to come around or something like that. But a lot of it you can basically solo yourself, or if you had 2 guys, you could definitely nail it. Okay. what made Archon's Forge fun is exactly the same thing. However, the downfall of both of them was the fact that you had to hope that somebody was there with both of them. Or Archon's Forge really failed in the fact that you could be running up with randoms in that player space, in that bubble.
Yeah.
And it would turn into another instance.
Yeah, and it's like, come on. You know, like I thought we were going to be able to do this together.
Yeah.
Well, not only that is it's like they were instead of being at the beginning of the map, which actually I like for Escalation Protocol because you can zone into it now. The Archon's Forge and the Court of Oryx were like in the heart of the maps.
Yeah.
You know, you actually had to go kind of out of your way to get to them.
Yeah.
I think also a big thing was that both of those activities are actually designed around 3 people. Like, you could take down both those activities with a well-oiled 3-person group. You could do that. And then the additional people made it more fun and more easy. And I think definitely Archon's Forge was better because it had weapons tied to it, so you would grind it more. You know, Escalation just it's really not designed around 3 people. Again, it's like 3 god tier players maybe, but otherwise you're going to need help. And it's so high level that it's just like you just want those 9 people in there. And then of course the way it works is like the boss has a chance to drop the weapon. So you not only need a group that can beat it, you need a group that can beat it consistently over and over and over again so you can actually farm it. So it's just, you know, fun activity, great rewards. The only problem I have with it, the 9 people, is just so annoying to get together.
Yeah.
So do you think a lot of these, like these Court of Oryxes, the Archon's Forge, even Escalation Protocol, even to a point the raids, are created to be kind of disposable content? Valid until the next DLC?
No, not necessarily. I mean, that's why you only have a chance to get the escalation weapons, is they want you to finally beat it and not get it. And so you have to try again and again, and maybe you get it, or maybe you don't get it one week. So the next week, you know, if you didn't get the shotgun first week, you're going to have to wait until the next week is available. It rotates, right, every week, and then you can get a crack on it. So it's designed in a way to be replayable. The problem is that it's not as replayable as Destiny 1 in a lot of aspects. And that's partially because of random rolls. I mean, when Archon's Forge, when you got the sniper for doing Archon's Forge, I can't remember what it was called, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And...
No.
Gone but Forgotten or something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love Saladin's Vigil, though. I think everybody remembers
that too. But you didn't just get it. You got to get the God roll on it, right?
Yeah.
So then you're playing it more and more and more. And whereas Escalation is... They realize they can't do that, I think. And that's why it's so difficult. It's like... You have a better chance to get the weapon because it drops the God roll every time. But again, that's why... to get to the point where it drops is much more challenging. It's going to take much more time than these other activities that could be more accessible because of random rolls.
Would you guys like to see them decrease the power level, recommended power level for this?
No.
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 Not if they... I think yes, if they are going to refuse to help us get 9 people there. Like, maybe just a little bit. Because,
how about this?
I don't know.
I just learned on PlayStation you can only have 8 people in a party. So the 9th person is they're not in the party. They're not, game chat. Better way to say that. I never knew that because I play on PC, so we just use Discord.
Yeah, no, it's pretty trash. And
like, could you imagine being that 9th person?
You're like, put your best guy on it who doesn't need any chit chat. He's just there, out to slay.
So let's say if they don't add matchmaking, how exactly can they fix this issue of not having enough people or not being high?
They're not, like, the thing is, what we're talking about here is this is not going to change. There's no... I seriously doubt Bungie is going to actually implement a new kind of matchmaking. This is not going to change, right?
Yeah.
The light level is not going to change. And I feel like at this point it's pointless because it's like there's no point in making it easier once you're at the point, like right now, a few weeks after the expansion, where a lot of people are starting to get actually to the point where they're reasonably leveled up. It's just going to not make a difference. What we're really debating this for is the next expansion. And the next time they inevitably try to do something like this, because hopefully that time it's like, okay, guys, 9 people is super fun or 6 people is super fun. Let us realistically matchmake for that. Let us, like you mentioned, have our own instance maybe, repurpose the PvP maps, something to allow players to get together.
Absolutely
Well,
agree.
what was cool in Destiny 1, one of the kind of foundations for what became Sparrow Racing was 6 people would go into the Vault of Glass, and then they would just race around Venus.
Yeah.
You know? I think not having raids on planets, having raids kind of like separated, segregated their own hub and activity
On a spaceship.
has kind of hurt the planets in and of themselves, because you used to be able to kind of at least manipulate the system. Because I think if you could get 6 people onto Mars, that would be way better than 3 and hopefully some randoms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be more high level. Or I don't want to say high level. There has to be more multiplayer content in here where it takes at least 6 guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the raid, having one actual or one, now we have 2 activities, just not enough. Like we
I
gotta
think
have
that was a big problem when Destiny 2 first came out. Is like I could man up for the raid, but then I gotta kick people for multiplayer. Then I gotta kick even more people for strikes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy idea.
So is the 3-man fire team idea more so the limitation that we're kind of like grouching about here?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. Like, it's really Bungie tried to do. I think this wouldn't be an issue if Escalation Protocol wasn't as difficult as it is. They wanted to push the difficulty. That's going to require us to get more people, and then now they're in this predicament. So if they introduce another activity like this world activity, they need to kind of maybe balance it better, or have it in its own instance, kind of like the Prison of Elders, but of course have matchmaking for 6 people or 8 or 9 or whatever it's going to be. It's again, it's a really interesting thing that they did. It just didn't work out as well as it could have.
Yeah, I feel a little bad for kind of berating them over Escalation Protocol, because it's like we wanted more difficult activities, and this is a great step, but yeah, it was executed poorly, I guess would be the word. It was executed with the belief that the community would figure something else out or a way around their own limitations, and I don't think that's a great way to design an encounter.
Yeah.
J-Ram, I'm gonna pass it on to you for your questions.
Actually, throughout the talk, Rick actually answered my questions.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah, which some of the one question was about how Escalation Protocol is it a march to get higher level stuff, or is it for high level people?
No one knows. Bungie doesn't even know. Apparently.
Yeah, I mean that was when I watched your most recent video or of the review of Warmind. That was the one sentence that really spoke out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't see how 3 guys are going to beat that. When
they already have, it's like 3 top tier, god tier players.
But it took them like 6 hours or 8 hours?
Probably, yeah. Like it's.
And not only that, they got lucky because a public event spawned
and got their ammo
at the one stage.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, right now the guys that I'm doing it with, we're all at least 375, and I've completed it. I'll tell you how many. Well, you see. Yeah, I've done it 20 times already. And we still have to coordinate everything. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, who's booping them? Who got melting point? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? And then we got to call it out because, last week's boss, which was, what was it, the Crota boss or whatever?
Yeah, that's another thing.
That was crazy.
It's such a good point you brought up. It's like how the bosses especially have special mechanics focused on teamwork. Mm-hmm. And how are you going to have randoms running around?
I don't know.
Like, you got to be in the same party.
It's going to be tough. Yeah. That's why.
Yeah, I think ultimately what Bungie's going to have to do because like I said, I feel bad for berating them over this because
it's a good activity.
We wanted a good activity. It's a good post raid. It's not a level up to raid activity. It's a post raid activity. But it's ultimately going to die because people don't go to planetary places unless they absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Unless it's like the weekly or whatever. If it's the weekly, you'll probably have dozens of people, you can try to match with. But unless it's the weekly, then you're gonna be on your own. You're gonna be LFGing. You're gonna be all the same pains and aches that we've been bitching about for the last 4 years. So I do think that Bungie ultimately needs to take a more Prison of Elders approach to these activities, where you go in, you pick a matchmaking hopper, and I think because one of the Prison of Elders failings was the harder difficulty was you had to have a team. Screw that. If I want to jump into a 380 activity with a bunch of randos and hope it works out, that's my prerogative. Let me do that. If it fails, then it fails.
I think it really worked for them during their playtest because they have everyone right there, right next to them. Like, there were no randoms or anything.
Well, they also all work together,
Yeah, they all work
together. It's a
yeah.
really good, environment. I'm sure we all have those people that we've played with for years. You kind of know how they're going to do something, or what they're going to do, how they're going to react to something. That same thing happens with you when you work with people.
Yeah.
It's going to play different.
I hope Bungie understands though the real the thing we're complaining about is matchmaking, and that's it. It's weapon, the rewards, great. The activity itself, fun. The difficulty, I think the only thing is you gotta decide if you want to be a stepping stone or an end game activity. That's the only thing I would say. What is it? But even then, that's not a major thing. It's just the matchmaking. That's the only thing. A lot of the other parts of this activity they nailed.
Yep. Oh yeah, no, completely agree.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like it respects player time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Half the time, it's going to take as long to beat it as it is to get 9 people in there. Getting 9 people together is the most time-wasting thing.
Or even then, you get to wave 6 or something, and you fail it, or you even get to wave 7. I heard something about somebody. I was just reading it, and I haven't beaten Escalation Protocol, so correct me if I'm wrong. But somebody was like, "Yeah, I got to the last wave, and I didn't have a key to open the chest."
Yeah, you got to get some sort of decrypted key. Again, the chest though is just for the armor. It's the weapon most people are gonna want.
Okay.
The weapon drops directly from the boss. No, exactly, but still, you beat wave 7. You also have to get a key. It's I don't understand why that's a big issue. And then you can only open the chest one time per week per character.
Yeah, why didn't the key drop during the event? At wave 4.
I think it might. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I haven't played enough of it. So again, I am totally willing to be corrected, if I'm wrong, but just my initial impressions on it.
You have to purchase a key, and then you have to level it up for 7 waves. So you have to have a encrypted key beforehand, and then play through the whole thing.
Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah, it kind of seems a little unnecessary. If you can, if
I get to level 7, let me have the chest.
If the chest is locked for 1 character per week, there's no point in doing this key thing. It's just. It's literally pointless.
I get why they did it. They don't want some random coming in shooting something and getting now he's got 380 gear.
But that can still happen if they have a key.
No, because they have to level it up through the waves.
You have to level it up.
Oh, I see.
If they have a leveled up key, they can, I guess. But
right. Yeah. We're talking about the level 7 chest, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. If you spawn into that bubble. And you got a key that you got from, you did the Prestige Nightfall or whatever. You got your key. It's all charged up and everything. You can totally open that chest. All you got to do is get into that instance.
Dude, so I'm of the mind. If they come along and they just get lucky, let them have it.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care.
The chest is also the chest sucks. It doesn't suck, but it's one
cosmetic.
Piece of armor that is high level. It's half of a milestone. It's what is the issue of people getting this? Oh no, his boots are 4 power levels higher. The game's ruined.
Didn't do anything. He got free loot.
It doesn't make any sense.
This isn't like raid loot or Trials of the Nine loot where there's kind of maybe we want to save that for people who are actually hardcore. This is a public event, essentially. This is a glorified public event. Come on, nobody cares.
All right, guys.
Jay's I got nothing.
No, So, what is the most fun you guys had in video games this week? J-Ram, you first, my friend.
Oh man, I've been playing D2 a lot.
Nice.
You know,
nice.
we're doing a Escalation Protocol. I got the submachine gun last week.
Ooh,
I got the sniper this week. I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's a grind. It kind of has the feel and taste of D1 a little bit. Mm-hmm. But considering that this is the second iteration of the game, I was kind of expecting a little bit more of a well thought out grind. That being said, if this is the start of what is going to come in September, mm-hmm. I'm a very excited individual.
All right. But
so yeah, that's basically it. Just D2.
Hold that thought, because I am interested later on in the show to get your review on Warmind, since you haven't been here in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Rick, what is your most fun this week in video games?
I'm going to piggyback off that and say when I got this Escalation Protocol sniper first try, and I was like, oh my goodness.
I'm out.
Goodness, yeah. Streamer luck or tuber luck finally working. Because I had to do the previous one for the SMG so many times, so I was very, very glad to get it first try.
Sweet. Congrats.
Good.
And Joker, your most fun this week, man?
I haven't had a terribly big chance to play video games this week, all things considered. But me and my buddies are planning, me, my best friend, and my wife, we're planning on grinding out some Escalation Protocol, Milestones, and Iron Banner tonight.
Nice, sweet.
Because my buddy wants the Iron Banner robes for his Warlock. He's like, yes, I know they don't do anything, they're crap, but they look cool. They're like all metal.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to play this week. I just came back from camping on Wednesday, and I'm about to go to Florida next week, so I've been super busy. Yeah, this whole week.
You love Florida.
Dude, you know I'm about to move, so I just...
Yeah, you love it down there. I like that.
I do. Sweet.
Florida's nice. It's not bad.
It is.
So
I like it. So, Iron Banner is back, guys. Bannerfall has returned back into Destiny 2. Have you guys been playing some Iron Banner? Rick, you first. Have you been playing it?
I haven't played a match yet. I'm planning to tomorrow.
Yeah.
But like this week launch, and it was like escalation, raid stuff,
yeah,
other stuff, and honestly, like, you know, I'm gonna play it for the sake of playing it because I want to see what it's like. But you know, after looking at the weapons, I was like, all right, my like desire to play has gone to absolute zero. Like I don't care. I do not care. None of the weapons are gonna ever be used if I get them. So it's an unfortunate thing.
Yeah. I haven't played again. Maybe I'll dive into it this weekend. We'll see how I feel. But yeah, it's just Iron Banner is back. J-Ram, you, man, have you dived into it?
Yeah. No. And I mean, for me, that's a really hard. That's a hard sell. Number one, I don't like Destiny's PvP, and number two, which I'm gonna kind of echo what Mr. Kackis said earlier, which is everything's basically the same. So it's like, why grind for all that stuff? Did I said it right? Kackis,
you
right?
said Kackis.
No, that's my accent kicking in. Whatever, guys.
I see how it is. I see how it is.
Okay, all right.
He called you a dick.
No, it's just one of those things where it's just like, if there's nothing that differentiates the gear that I have, then why go for all the stuff that I already own? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's green this time.
I can out. That doesn't excite me because I put a shader on it anyways.
Are you excited that Bannerfall is back?
I could care less.
I think it was a great map in D1, so I'm excited to see
More maps
how
is always better.
Of course.
It's only a positive.
And I like that it's free for everyone. It's free for everyone. It's a map that's free. So yeah. Joker, have you played any Iron Banner this week or plan on to?
No, I plan on doing that tonight. I plan on drinking a lot of vodka and orange juice and playing it. But one of the big things I think, because I'm writing the video for it now, is, and I think we gotta kind of wade into this, or I'm gonna kind of wade into it. A lot of people are upset over like the emote, right? And a lot of people, and then you have the people who are upset about the emote. Then you have the people who are upset about the Iron Banner gear. And then you have the people who are upset about the emote that are upset with the people who are upset with the Iron Banner gear because they're not upset about the emote. And then the people upset about the Iron Banner gear are upset with the people with the emote because they're not upset with the people of the gear. And it's just this like Ouroboros, you know, it is somewhat this, and I will admit, like, can we just agree that Iron Banner sucks?
I'm not going to say it sucks.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it sucks either. I think
it can be.
I mean, the
improved.
loot and the rewards
of
whatnot.
PvP sucks.
Yeah, it can be improved. I won't say it suck.
It's just the rewards. Like, the dumb thing is, you're gonna make the weapons. Oh, and the weapons are useless because they have a terrible weapons system and a not so good loot system. Unfortunately, you know, again, things are improving with escalation loot and so on. But these are like the traditional one main perk weapons, so it's hard to care about that. And then you have something that people would have grinded for, that emote, and then you lock it behind a paywall. So it's like, and now you have no reason to play. And I think that was a lot of people's kind of tipping point. Is like, okay, if the weapons were lit, we wouldn't care that much about the emote, right? If we're talking clever dragons, if we're talking like distant star style weapons that are really good meta shifting desirable weapons, who cares about emo? There'd still be, you know, it's you still probably shouldn't lock it behind, but it wouldn't be as big of outrage. It's the double whammy of like the bad, not so good rewards, not desirable rewards, and then the one potentially desirable reward being taken out and putting it behind Eververse.
So, what is everyone's opinion on the emote exactly? Do you guys agree with it? Rick, you kind of expanded on that just a bit, but J-Ram, I want to hear your opinion on this. Because I've gotten into a lot of arguments this week. Over stupid stuff.
Honestly, it just... Boy, that... I mean, okay, number one, I don't care it's locked behind a paywall, because I'm never going to buy it anyways. I can care less about that. Should it have been something that, if it's available in Eververse, can we also grind to get it? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's a major bonehead move by not making it accessible through playing the actual game. All right. Does Bungie look bad and tone deaf for doing this? Yes, they do, because it's like, this game it's always going to be underneath a microscope because of what's happened in the past, and sometimes people are just looking for something that they can bitch about. Like, you know, there are some people out there that are like that. There are others, like myself, that genuinely care and want to see this game do extremely well and the best that it can be. You know, I don't know why they don't know why they did that. I have no idea why. It doesn't make any sense why they put it behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Especially when you have the goodwill of the community. Like, generally this has been a better expansion than Curse, but not amazing. You just sold a $20 expansion.
Yes.
Like, less than a month ago. You don't need the cash right now. Like, calm down.
My question.
You should put that with like a public event, like a dawning style event. That's what.
Yeah.
I think what really pisses people off is the fact that this is a limited time event, and it's like you either buy it or you don't.
Yeah.
And on top of that,
probably going to be back for the next Iron Banner.
Yeah.
Right. But right now, right now I'm going to work under the assumption that it's a limited time event and we're not going to see it again. You know what I mean? But you're right. I totally agree. We'll probably see it again.
I get your point too.
You know, it's just, it just seems like Bungie can't do anything right. And when they do something wrong, it gets completely exacerbated. And it sucks. It really sucks to be that in that situation. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you're trying hard, and I know they're trying hard to do better.
But again, they put themselves. It's like
they put themselves in the position.
It's
so you guys, they knew like anyone who plays the game for more than an hour will look at the Iron Banner weapons and look at the other weapons and be like, these weapons aren't as good. Right? Like, so they gotta like know they have some underwhelming weapons. None of them have unique perks. Like, why don't you have some new perks like the again, hate to go back to it, but the Aikilos weapons have unique perks that you can't get anywhere else. How about some unique Iron Banner perks? I don't know, but something to make those weapons desirable. They knew they're putting not very good weapons in the game, and then they also double down on this. It's like, again, if there was good weapons, people wouldn't care as much. It's the fact that there's nothing. This Iron Banner's been so underwhelming, and having that emote would have helped as like a top tier reward.
Yeah.
Remember back in the day in Destiny 1 where Iron Banner weapons were like the kind of great equalizer? Like, if you couldn't get that like really cool legendary shotgun, just wait till Fellwinter came around.
Yeah.
You know? And we don't have that anymore, and I think there is kind of this mentality in the community that Iron Banner weapons should be game defining.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Aphrodite's Spear, one shot.
Yes.
You know,
Finale's
we had
Peril. I love that hand cannon.
we had just all these really, really stellar Iron Banner weapons, and now, what do we got?
Nothing.
I don't
Nothing.
even know the names of these weapons. Like, it's...
And now we suddenly have a ton of new Iron Lords too, out of nowhere.
yeah.
But Saladin can't remember us.
I feel like they could have easily. You're right about that. I feel like they could have easily put the emo. You have to rank up to rank 50, or turn in some tokens, and boom, it could drop. Or like you could still have that option to buy it, but also put it in that you have to grind for it.
Also,
Also,
people
That's
right?
the mistake right there. Is they didn't give the player
yeah.
who doesn't want to spend money the option
Exactly.
to still
problem-
get it.
and not everyone.
The problem
can
with
spend
doing
money.
that, there is a problem with doing that. The problem with doing that is like you very much devalue, and you actually would anger people who bought it. If they put it available for sale just for silver, people buy it, and then turns out you can get it from the loot pool. There's going to be a lot of very angry people who bought that, and it sounds weird, but it's a real thing, and it's something they need to be cognizant of.
Yeah.
I
And the
agree.
problem is just they didn't need to charge for this because it should have been put in the loot pool of an already underwhelming loot pool to make it better. Look at the raid emblem where you sit on the callus thing. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I love those. That's so
Everyone
good.
wants that. And people are playing it just to get that
Yeah, I'm
emote
going
because
to
it's so
I'm going to grind it
sweet.
just to get that.
They could have done the exact same thing. They would have had the exact same reaction if they put this emote into the Iron Banner loot pool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So it's not
You're
so
right.
much they did something terribly wrong, is that they missed out on a bunch of easy goodwill and a happy player base for no reason.
Well, my other thing is like, what next? Faction rally emotes.
There is emotes tied to each faction, so who knows? Like everyone assumed they were going to be like for leveling up the faction, but apparently could be behind
maybe-
Eververse.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, you're 100% right about that. I just like options. Like, I'm an options person. I just want options. Either buy it or grind to rank 50. Because, of course, not everyone's going to reach rank 50 for that. So you also have the option to purchase it. It's just options. Like,
And I think the biggest like anxiety is people are also kind of jaded about the fact that Destiny went from I want to grind all these really cool pieces of loot to
Yeah.
I've been using the same 3 guns essentially for a year.
yeah.
You know, Midnight Coup, Uriel's Gift, Mida, oh my god, what's that pulse rifle that's really good? Looks like a fucking battleship.
Vigilance.
Osiris.
Vigilance Wing.
Vigilance Wing.
Yeah, yeah.
It just escaped me. We've been essentially using these same guns since pretty much week 1. And now, so the game is definitely more of a dress up your Barbie doll kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put all the really cool dress up your Barbie doll stuff not behind grinding things, but give us money.
Yeah. Because this game is like a cosmetics game, right? You want to look good all the time.
Well, it is now. It wasn't a long time
it is
ago.
No, yeah,
now,
people are
unfortunately.
jaded over that. I think people are looking for any excuse to kind of like stick a knife in the ribs at this point and twist
Yeah.
it a little bit.
Mhm.
Totally
And
agree.
this is just another one of those.
Well, that's what I mean. If there were
And Bungie's
things
just
to
throwing their
grind
arms
for,
up
if
wide.
there were weapons and really cool armor that actually meant something, this little Iron Banner thing, it would have been exactly what I just said, a little Iron Banner thing. But the fact of the matter is, this is underneath a microscope now. Everybody's watching. Nothing you could do.
Well, yeah, it's again kind of what we've been dancing around. If the Iron Banner loot was worth grinding, nobody would care.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
You're right. So, faction rallies, what type of changes would you like to see to that? Rick?
I just
first.
want New Monarchy to
Oh.
keep winning.
No, gosh, no, please. Future War Code needs a win. But Rick, what type of improvement would you like to see to faction rallies?
All you need to do is have an exotic weapon exclusive to each faction. Boom, you've made faction rallies a lit beyond belief.
A good exotic weapon.
Good exotic. Like,
I
could you
want my
imagine if
Ascal
you
back.
could get you put the Graviton Lance, let's say, obviously it would be a new exotic that's not in the game, but the Graviton Lance is a dead orbit weapon. Woo, let me just say, Dead Orbit would come out of the bottom. They'd start, like, winning again. Or no, it's Future War Call, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all they need to do. And I know it's a lot of work to design an exotic, but, if Bungie, it's like, you guys did this static roll system, you're going to have to make a lot more weapons to compensate. Like, you just dug yourself into this hole, right? And that's what they need to do, is have, like, these big rewards as exotics and so on. And I think they need to make it so that you can pledge to one faction per account. That sounds a little weird, but like that's gonna make your choice matter a lot more.
Yep.
And you know, obviously you can switch back and forth, and then that would make it not so bad when they kind of reintroduce the loot that they've already had, so that you still have the chance to get a really good Dead Orbit, hand cannon. Even though you pledged a future war cult, the next week you can go back to Dead Orbit and try to get their loot. Like that would make it last a lot longer, I feel like, and it would make your choice impactful. But that's only if they have enough loot to sustain that and enough good rewards to sustain that. You know, in the end, for our faction rally, you know, when we're kind of getting close to season 3, people's interest just went way down. Because it's like, oh, you look at the rewards, you look at the loot on offer, oh, it's a bunch of mediocre stuff I don't care about. All right, I'm going to skip it. It's just this, it all goes back to the weapon system and the loot system. It all goes back to that all the time, where it's like, there needs to be loot that's desirable, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And that's pledging to factions in D1, and where you could get that. All of them had very good, the hung jury, very good weapons that you really wanted to get for each different faction.
Yeah.
Well, I think it also comes back to the way, not only just loot pools, but the way loot's being handled just in general. Remember in Destiny 1, through, like, the Dark Below happened, we got an entire vendor reset. House of Wolves happens, we get an entire vendor reset. I mean, we joked about it being reskinned, right? And I mean, joked is a loose word there. But,
We complained.
Yeah, we complained.
We didn't think it would get worse.
Yeah, we didn't think it would be like 3 weapons that are just a reskinned of a reperked of a reskinned weapon, you know? And oh my god, now they're even uglier. I didn't think it would happen.
Yeah.
I do not like the season 3 weapons. But I think you know, like, to go back to like the last season, New Monarchy won not just because they had the best ornaments, but they had weapons that you looked at them and you go, well, that's kind of different.
Yeah, it's like
the pulse rifle was really cool. The scout rifle was really cool.
They had a full auto shotgun. It's like, that's a good point. It's like, you can't have one team having a full auto shotgun with good stats, and another team having a single shot grenade launcher. Like, what? Like, obviously there's a clear choice here. Like, Bungie's got to realize that, you know, again, they actually got to go in and say, oh, right, this sniper rifle has no good perks, it's trash, we shouldn't make this a prize weapon.
Yeah, I think that's something they've struggled with since Destiny 1 when you think about it. I mean, Water Star. Who wanted to get a fucking Water Star? Nobody.
Oh, that hand cannon was something. It was, yeah.
And that entire archetype of hand cannons, though. But it comes back to kind of the, at least in Destiny 1, you could kind of chalk it up to the trading card mentality, where if you go and buy, you know, Magic the Gathering cards, there has to be stuff to water down the pool, or you get everything you want almost automatically. You always have good stuff, and if everything's good, then nothing's good. Nothing's desirable.
Well,
Right.
let's talk about the roadmap a bit. So we're getting Crucible Labs at the end of this month on May 29th. That's update 1.2.1. What are your thoughts on Crucible Labs? J-Ram, I did see your tweet about that. I believe you did make a tweet about that a few weeks ago.
I think it's something that we desperately need.
Yeah. So something you've been actually talking about here on the show for over a year now, or asking for.
It provides the player base with critical voice.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a meme now. Bungie's listening. You know what I mean? But here's the thing: we don't know what they're listening to. Now we can actually see. Okay, they're gonna unlock this. You know, PTR. We're gonna see what's gonna happen if they lower time to kill, right? And then we can actually we can hopefully see the feedback, because we are actively participating in this. This isn't us going to Twitter and bitching and complaining. This isn't us going to Reddit and chastising or saying how great of a job they're doing in this. You know, the social aspect of the game is fantastic. We're going to be actively involved in all of these decision-making processes. Or processes? Is that
Process?
Yeah.
Process?
Yeah,
Processes?
Listen, it's been hot as balls today, so
You're right about that.
Dude, I live in Texas. I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah. But yeah. Rick, your thoughts on Crucible Labs?
Great idea. It's a lot different than making a post or a video and theorizing is a lot different than actually getting to test stuff. And I think it's gonna help us guide Bungie's hands, because often they're on the right track and they just don't do it enough. Like, oh, we buffed in D1, we buffed auto rifles, by 0.04%. Well, we can be here to say, hey guys, that's not enough. You need to do more, and I think
it provides that critical voice that we desperately need.
Yep, I think it's a great thing.
Yep, and a Joker.
So I'm going to be the Naismith here.
Who did see that coming?
No, but I do think I have a fairly, at least, interesting point to add to it. I like the idea of if they come in and we say, well, we want time to kill lowered, right? Because we theoretically, on paper, think that's a great idea. And instead of coming in and changing it across the board and then finding out, oh, hey, wait, maybe that's not exactly what we wanted. Maybe we want something a little different. Maybe we want time to kill to be a little quicker, but maybe we also want, like, if I get away, I want my shields to come back quicker as well, so I can get back into the fight, because there's a balance there. How long do you punish a player versus how long the TTK is versus this, that, and the other. So there are a bunch of different problems that they have to kind of balance. On the same note, Bungie decided, and this goes back to kind of the genesis of the new weapon system. Bungie decided they wanted to go to this new weapon system because it'd be simpler. It'd be easier to balance. How many actual balance patches have we had since Destiny 1 launched?
None.
Like one main one, and another one that did nothing.
Really? Oh, yeah. Okay. See, I don't even play Crucible.
If they have these test realms, how often it comes to this is a great idea, now do it.
Yeah.
I just want those two worlds to be separate. I want PvP to be PvP and PvE to be PvE.
I don't think their engine will allow them to do it.
They're not going to do it, and I know that, and I've accepted that, and I'm okay with it. But it just seems like, in my mind, and this is the mind of a non-game designer, okay? It just seems like that would be the logical choice. That way you can have these.
They need to figure something out for that.
I mean, you can have these unbelievably cool-ass weapons in PvE that do amazing things, and then in PvE you could just turn them off. You could turn off those special perks that do that. I don't know why that's not a thing. Maybe it's just not possible to do that within the structure of the game.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just don't want to do that, which is still fine. I mean, it's their game. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, didn't we have perks and stuff in Destiny 1 that, like, they would be vastly more effective in PvE than they would PvP?
Like,
they would still work, but, like, they didn't
like
work.
Touch of Malice, they had to tune it down in PvP, but it still did good in PvE. I forgot which update that was, but it was like towards
a lot of the time, they actually had a lot of updates where they buffed PvE weapons, like pulse rifle damage increased by 25% in PvE. The problem was that they didn't do that enough, right? So every time they made a change for PvP reasons, they should have been offsetting it with like a damage increase in PvE every time.
Yeah. So before we dive into lore facts for Joker, overall, guys, what is your review on Warmind? On a scale of 1 to 10, of course, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Your opinion on that, Rick? You first.
I'm not gonna give it a rating out of 10 because I feel like,
or 5. It could be 5, maybe 10. Was
no, I'm not. I don't like giving it like ratings because it's just it's it's the IGN. Everything's 10 out of 10, boys. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just not. It's too hard to have one number to judge, especially an expansion. For a game, maybe, but for an expansion, like it depends on where you're at. If you're not playing the game, should this bring you back? If you're already playing the game, should you purchase? Like that is so different. Right?
Absolutely.
You're already playing the game. 100%. This is a great expansion because it's going to add on to and improve a lot of things. But like, as for people who I think, what I said in my review and what I'm gonna just say to answer that question is, if you've left the game and you were upset when you left the game, this isn't gonna bring you back because the fundamental problems, static rolls, the weapon system are still there. But if you just stopped playing the game and there's no ill will, you just like, I'm gonna go play Fortnite with my friends, like no one's playing this game anymore, and you still enjoyed Destiny 2, I think this is a reason to come back. Because, again, there's more to do. It improved upon a lot of things. And overall, it's a lot better than Curse of Osiris.
All right. Joker.
So, yeah, to kind of branch off of what Rick was saying, I agree a lot with that. I think it's one of those things, like, if you enjoyed Destiny 2, you're going to enjoy this DLC. If you're willing to, just kind of bite the bullet, forget the faults, and, like, just play some of the activities, you're going to enjoy this DLC. Now, from a lore standpoint, I am just livid with just everything.
Hey,
about
it's
this
Rasputin.
DLC.
I'll see you, Rasputin.
Oh, this was even worse. This was even worse because it's like, no, Rasputin's the only Warmind. Oh, Anna Bray's not dead, and we're not going to even try to explain that.
Wait, they said Rasputin's the only Warmind?
Yeah, Rasputin's the only Warmind.
What about Charlemagne? Where's my boy?
He was a submind now.
Oh.
He was a submind now, and apparently Tolan was, because I was reading something about like Tolan had this this card where he's talking about the war minds, like plural, and it's like, oh wait, no, there's only one now. Wow. You know, and then like Rasputin was always on Earth. Oh, that one drove me up a wall. Oh.
Well, yeah, like so, I should probably wait. I know. I'll butt my tongue into the lore segment. I actually might have some questions about that.
Sweet.
But yeah, so it's like Rasputin was always on Earth and yada yada. So they just, it's like retconning things to retcon them. It seems like, and retcon's like the wrong word because people keep throwing that around. It's like, it just doesn't seem like they bothered to do the research. Like a retcon usually has a purpose. I talked about this in my review. It's like when, how many of you are familiar with DC Comics? Like, I mean, like the actual comics. Any of you know what Emerald Twilight was?
No.
Okay, so
just Twilight. We're talking Edward Cullen and
Team Jacob.
In it, basically, this was a comic in like the 80s, I think. Basically, Hal Jordan went insane and killed a bunch of people, turned evil, started calling himself Parallax. Then Jeff Johns came around a couple of years later, or a decade later, and he's like, yeah, but. Yes, he was Parallax, but that was actually this like entity, the fear entity that possessed him. And then from that sprouted the entire like emotional spectrum that the Green Lanterns have now. You know, you got rage, you got empathy, you got, you know, so you get this whole spectrum. And that's like a really good retcon. You know, that adds to the world, adds to the lore. It explains this event and it redeems a character. Destiny 2, it's like, oh, Rasputin was always on Mars. It was just fragments on Earth. Really? Really? Or did you just not do your research? Anna Bray is alive. Wait a minute. But Lakshmi said she was dead. Really? And they don't even bother to like explain it. So I think it's like when people say retcon, I think what they mean is didn't bother to do the research and they're just being nice. But that's kind of where I'm sitting at with you know, the Warmind. It's like, really? Did you guys have to do a lot of this stuff, or could you have just like made a simpler excuse? It's like midichlorians. There we go. It's like a lot of the stuff is like the midichlorians to Destiny. It's like they're explaining things that don't need to be explained, but then not explaining things that need to be explained.
Yeah. J-Ram.
All right, so I'll break this down in like little subsections. Story wise, campaign wise, it has the Curse of Osiris feel to it. It's like you do a couple missions, great, I'm okay with that, but it's like you have this pivotal, you know, character in the game that you hear all about in D1, and you're like, holy shit, this thing, whatever it is badass, and it's, hey, Rasputin, bye, Rasputin, see ya. It's like,
but literally,
you can make an entire game based off of that one character. What are they gonna? They're running out of characters. Like, yeah, like I don't understand that.
I am terrified of what they're gonna do with Savathun, dude. At this point.
Well, hey, we'll see. You know, I mean,
you'll meet. As soon as you meet her, she's dead. She goes, "I am Savathun," and you just shoot her.
Yeah, you just. Oh my God, is it gonna be like the end of Fable 2, where you just like shoot the bad guy?
But only if there's a super cheesy, cringy line at the end, like, let's do this!
All right, but let me ask you guys
this. We got this!
Let me ask you guys this question. How many people out there do you think, and it is obviously an opinionated question, but how many people do you think actually play Destiny for the story? Or do they play it for the actual endgame stuff, the raids and the strikes and all that?
I think very little for the story. I think the story adds to the world, but like very little are going there legit looking at all the Grimoire card. The vast majority are just loving up the character, trying to get guns, all that stuff.
Yeah. So for me, and I said this earlier in the podcast, it would make absolute sense for them to incorporate more of the story into those strike missions. You know, I mean, how many story missions were there in just D2 vanilla? Any idea? Just off the top of your
quite
head?
a bit, actually. I think.
Yeah,
Wasn't
it
it
actually had a fairly long story.
Wasn't it like 17?
It
17,
was a
18?
decent amount.
All right, let's just do this. Let's call it 15.
Okay.
Imagine if 7 of those were actual replayable strikes.
That's what I'm saying. If they're gonna do that, just do it.
Fantastic idea. All right. So as far as campaign, you know, I can't say I was disappointed because I wasn't expecting much because I don't play Destiny for the campaign. I play it for the raids and the strikes and now the escalation protocol. Like, I love all that stuff about it.
Yeah.
I would like to see more of the campaign though because I want to have more investment in, you know, within that scope. As far as escalation protocol is concerned, I think that is a home run. That being said, there's still a blemish on it. It was the home run that just hit the top of the you know, the home run wall and bounced over. What am I talking about specifically? You got to make it easier for people to get in there and play it because it's good. It's really fun. It's a fun thing to do. Just make it more accessible. That's all. Crucible, no idea. I can care less about Valor. I can care less about Glory. From what I understand, it's not that great anyways. All right. So I can care less about that. I know a lot of people were like, oh, I'll never get that Redrix Claymore gun. Well, then you're not going to get it. Shut up. Move on. Like, if you're not willing to put in the time, whether it's to get better at Crucible or to put in the time just to get it, don't bitch and cry about it then. Like, you got to do something.
I do think the ranking system is pretty lazy.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But, you know, one thing Destiny players have a problem with is they are lazy. And
they want everything. Yeah,
they expect just to be given everything. When in reality, it's kind of like, man,
somewhat. I mean, the whole thing about the Iron Banner is the opposite. We don't want to be given it if we pay for it. We want to grind for it.
Right. That okay. In the entire scope then of that, what you're talking about is the exception. It's a huge exception. Because
it's not even that. It's not even that we don't want to be given it. We want to be given, like, a lot of people want to be given everything. They say they want to grind for stuff when it comes into a loot box for $10.
Yeah, but I've seen Twitter, and now granted, like I said, it's a convenient sampling, okay? People are already complaining that it's too hard. It's like, wait a second, you didn't even get high enough level yet to really, really, really make a difference in there. So before you do anything, before you start crying, you know, just work a little bit. Just work a little bit. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill you. I just think people just expect just to be given everything. It's I paid my $60. I should be able to do everything. I agree to a point. I really do. I agree to a point. You know.
Yeah, I had somebody comment something to the effect of because my video title was like Destiny Bungie doesn't respect your time or something like that in the second part of my review, and they commented something to the effect of they don't think that random rolls respects players' time. And I'm like, yeah, but you're buying a looter shooter.
Right.
Exactly.
That's like complaining Final Fantasy isn't Halo.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. Overall though, Jay, to bring it back full circle, you asked for a rating, a number. I'd go 6.5, 7.
Yeah.
You know,
fair.
I mean, I enjoyed the campaign. I think the new weapons, the Braytech weapons, are amazing looking. They're badass. I love that. I want more of that, though. We need more of that. Like, Bungie, please, I'm pleading, exploit that. Make it better. I know, put it this way, we know they can do it because they did it before. The Raid Layer, Spire of Stars. I played it, beat it, loved. I don't want to say I loved it. The last encounter is by far the best encounter I think I've ever played.
Oh yeah, I think this is some of the best raids since Taken King.
It's extremely I don't want to say complex. Complex is a bad way to describe it. It is very engaging, extremely engaging. Like if you got one player that is not paying attention, it's really hard to make up for that player.
Are you saying everybody's got to be on the ball?
To a point, yeah. To a point. I get it. Also, I think the raid token thing needs to change. I hate that. You know, sometimes you have to wipe because you just don't have any more raid. You know, there's no more tokens.
Oh,
I think
the
that's
revive token. Yeah.
Yeah, the revive token. What did I say? Did I say raid tokens?
Yeah. Yeah.
My bad. I'm sorry. I misspoke. I think that just needs to change.
Yeah, it takes away hero moments.
Yeah. the idea of putting the idea of, and now we've seen this full, it's completely grown up, and now this idea of the raid layer is a full-grown adult because we've seen all the stages. They cannot make a complete gun and armor set and spread it out over a year.
Oh my god,
That
yes.
is the biggest.
No, they made 3 armor sets that no one cares about.
Okay, but they're basically
Isn't
all the
just
same.
the new one just a reskin of the last one with
It's
a little
very
bit
goldy-
more tchotchkes?
Yeah, it's a
Dude,
different
thick.
More
version.
tchotchkes.
Thick armor. That's what you look like. Especially the Titan. The male Titan
The
with the new
shoulders,
armor.
dude? The
Dude,
shoulders?
he's thick boy, let me just say.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But again, yeah, 2
Just
weapons.
lay up the
2
cheeseburgers.
weapons that should have been in the original raid Leviathan are just, that's the rewards.
And yeah. It's like
And-
I'm gonna grind for a sidearm and a fusion rifle that's not
Right.
last hope and that's not main ingredient. What
And-
am I doing with my life?
And when
Yeah.
you think about year 1 D1, okay? You had Vault, own weapons, own gear. You had Crota, own weapons, own gear. You had House of Wolves, own weapons, own gear. That has to come back.
Yeah.
Because there is apps other than playing with my friends, laughing, having a good time, as Deej would call it, the friend game. There is zero incentive for me to go in there. Now, I will go in every single week and play it because I enjoy playing this game with my friends. But I mean, first thing to drop for me was that sidearm. I sharded it right there on the spot because I'm like, I don't even know why that gun is in the game.
It was a good sidearm, dude. It's fully automatic.
I could care
And
less.
triple burst.
I got.
You don't
I got
play, you
submachine.
clearly don't play PvP. As a full auto last hope. I'm all with it.
If I
I
could
see what you're
trade
saying
it,
though.
if I can trade it, I would give you every single one I had then.
I see what you're saying though. You're 100% right. It's like, for how difficult it is, and it's still difficult to raid.
Yeah,
Loot's not worth it. Other than to level
No.
up, not worth it.
yeah, and
I
it's
was
fun. The
hoping to
raid
see-
is fun as hell. It is fun, man, and it's like, I love the jumping puzzle. I love the idea of incorporating. Well, wait, should I? Is it spoilers if I say anything, or should I just?
It's
We're already
just-
like this far in.
Yeah, it might as well.
Okay. I love how you got to take that ball and throw it all around the jumping puzzle and stuff like that to get secret chest or. It's fun and it's gorgeous and it really gives you another. It really puts you in that space of how large that Leviathan really is.
Right.
But there's just zero. I mean, I'm not excited at all for any of the rewards in there, other than I got a cool
Emote.
chess piece right now. Yeah, the emote. I got a cool chess piece. If I get that chess piece, I'll look at it. If I think it's attractive, I'll put it on. If not, I'll just infuse it. And I shouldn't have to feel like that, because I remember back in Wrath of the Machine, perfect example. Even if you were doing normal mode. Oh shit! What's his name? The first boss.
In what, Wrath of the Machine?
Yeah, Wrath of the Machine.
Not Varix. Vosic.
Vosic,
yeah.
Yeah.
Ready? How pissed off did you get when the bombs dropped from the ceiling?
Mm-hmm.
You picked it up, but you had a couple vandals still alive because you couldn't clear them out fast enough,
Mm-hmm.
and you died very quickly.
Yeah.
And you were like, man, I can't wait to get that chess piece, because if you have that chess piece,
Mm-hmm.
when you were holding that ball, you take half damage.
Yup.
Shit like that needs to come back.
And not only
Yeah.
that, freaking remember the gauntlets from that raid where you'd
Drop
get
it heavy.
more heavy
Yes,
from
absolutely.
falling?
Yes.
That was so legit, dude.
As a
Everyone
Titan-
wanted those.
And
As a Titan, I was so mad about that.
Yeah.
Because we'd have ruin wings, and we're like, oh well, now everybody
Yeah.
has ruin wings.
And for all of the raid layers and the raid itself, to not have even a spice of that, not even a hint, a taste of any of that, is a massive, massive drop of the ball.
Yeah.
How about just how pointless the raid story wound up being? I know that's just a me thing, but it's like, or the lore master thing, but it's just like, we go through this whole raid experience, and it's like, we really don't know too terribly much more about Callus now than we did after the first Leviathan raid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it depends on what happens. Let's see what happens.
With Taking Queen.
Yeah, we'll see if they dovetail the two storylines together. If they do, I don't know.
Yeah, but then that would be more Cabal. Do we want more Cabal?
I really like Hive and Vex, man.
Yeah.
I really like Hive and Vex.
Honestly,
I really.
we need a new enemy type. Let's be honest. Like
We do.
It's gonna be hard to have this full expansion, which is probably gonna be a $40 expansion, and be like, it's the Vex again. And we're gonna be like, oh, guys.
No, it's gonna be
I
the
don't
Take It
know.
again.
Let me pose this question to you then. Let me pose this question to you. Do we need another enemy type, or do we need smarter enemies?
We need a new. You need variety. It's like I think we need a new enemy type with unique rewards tied to those enemies. Like
No, I'm not even talking about rewards. I'm talking about like the AI of the enemy or the mechanics of the enemy, because
No, I agree with you.
and let me kind of set the mood here, okay? Let get you inside my mind. Do you approach the Vex any differently than you do the Hive, the Fallen, or the Cabal?
Nope.
Or
Like,
do you just walk in
there's-
guns blazing and just shoot everything?
Subtly, there'll be differences, and especially very high level activities. You know, you can't play as melee hungry in Escalation Protocol because of all the thralls, as you maybe would if you're against the Vex. But not too many differences.
Right. And
Yeah.
and so when I hear the argument we need a different enemy type, I am on board. But then I think about it, I'm like, well, I think we need just a different variety of enemy. Instead of just going in guns blazing, we need to have a different fight with an enemy other than just going guns blazing.
Well, to that too is like the more enemies you add, the inevitability you're going to come to the fact that you have X amount of AI space, and you're just going to dumb everything else down. And I think that's something that we're kind of seeing with Destiny, is everything's kind of just dumb. You know, and another game that we kind of see this in again is like Halo 5. They have, you know, all these different Covenant races, and then they have all the different Promethean types and yada yada yada. So I'm wondering if it's a case of you can only have X amount of different AI behavior before you can't really add anymore, and once you start trying to add more enemy types and diversity, you wind up dumbing down the entire pool of enemy AI. So would it just be better to have a couple of really smart enemies, or, you know, a diversity of enemies with different essentially skin palettes, like, you know, like skin, like character models, you know?
Yeah, my gut says I'd rather have fewer smarter enemies.
Yeah.
That's just my gut speaking right now, though. If maybe my attitude would change later.
Would you rather shoot 50 different looking Fallen? You know, they all look different, but they're all gonna run towards you and die easily.
Yeah.
Or would you rather fight like 5 different Fallen that'll, like, you know, you'll have one that jumps and skitters on walls and like tries to ambush you, and one that, you know, will sit in the back and like heavy mortar you, and, you know, then you got one in your face with knives that's going to duck and dodge and weave, and, you know, I think the more AI you have, the more memory you have to spread out, and that just dumbs everything down. And I think that's what we're seeing with Destiny. So I don't know if another enemy class would be advantageous to our problem with Destiny.
I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong to add it. I'm just saying it's going to be a hard pill to swallow for people if they don't do it. Especially if they want to charge a premium price.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know
think this DLC has to be $30. I don't think it can be 40.
Well,
I don't think it's
was
going
40.
to be 30, but
Yeah, Taken King was 40.
Yeah.
Rise of
Wrath
Iron
was
30
30.
though.
Honestly,
but-
it should be 20. Like, it's like, guys, they're fighting for, not guys, you guys, but like Bungie.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys are fighting from behind. Like, this is not
Yeah.
the time to start charging a pretty penny. This is the time to be like under the radar, great value for money.
Well, I think if they want to double down on the Eververse, I think it should be free, and they just go free to play.
I mean, like,
yes, because
Battlefield's doing that. Battlefield just dropped premium, and Call of Duty. They're both like, you know what? Screw DLCs. We are going free, basically freemium.
Yeah, freemium.
You buy the game with the 2 on it, and then all the DLCs are free, and you get
have
more.
an in-game store. Yep.
Yeah, but
go through Eververse. I don't
but-
have a problem buying things, just as long as I feel like my time and investment is being
I have
respected.
my hand up.
Okay.
Oh.
I pick on you, J-Ram.
I don't think Destiny's can ever go free to play though, because and hear me out. This game is not COD and it's not Battlefield. Both of those games have a linear campaign, and then they have a multiplayer. This game has strikes, it has raids, it has a PvP. So what do you like? Do you charge for each one of those? Like, do you hey,
What?
we got a
No.
strike pack.
No,
It's
no, no, no.
$15.
No.
The whole game is free, and but the expansion. No, sorry, the game is $60. The expansions are free.
Mhm.
The expansions cost $0. The entire revenue comes from the in-game store. Now, again, Call of Duty, which is abandoning the campaign, Black Ops 4, they have no campaign. They have a new Battle Royale mode. They're doing this. Battlefield's doing this. Other games are doing this. There are games that are going in this direction because they realize that not only do these DLCs fragment the community because you have people who can play on the new stuff and then people who can't. Bungie was smart for making the maps available to all players. But like you just have people leave. It's like, oh, well, I don't want to spend. I'm playing the game, but I'm not invested enough to spend $20. I'm just gonna leave. And like the problem with these AAA games is the old ones, the new ones are gonna changing, is they want it all. They want the full price game, and they want the paid DLC, and they want the microtransactions.
Yeah.
One has to go, right? And that's why Fortnite. The reason Fortnite's so huge is because it's free. It's like, oh, Fortnite, is that a good game? Like, how much is it? Dude, it's free. Just download it. Like, that is such a huge thing, and it is so annoying to with Destiny 1 even. Hey, go buy Destiny 1. Make sure you buy the collection though. Yeah. That's still at full price with like the 10 DLCs it comes with, even though like House of Wolves and Dark Below are totally inconsequential now. Like that needs to change. That model needs to change. And if they're right now, their main goal should be player retention because the game's not doing too well. You do not have the liberty to charge $40 for a Taken Queen. Yeah, that's just not gonna fly.
No, I think it does need to be free.
And let's be honest. Just kind of looking at the financial reports for Q4 for 2017 for Activision Blizzard, they made $7.6 billion in revenue during the entire fiscal year, a record for the company. Of that, $4 billion was generated by in-game purchases.
Yeah, but is that just? I mean, that's the entire company, right?
Yeah, because they have other games also.
Yeah, but we
so you can't throw that number around. That's not a fair assessment because you got Candy Crush.
Yeah. Well, did you guys hear about this? Fortnite actually made...
Those are all subsets of the parent company.
Yeah. Right. Back in April of 2018, Fortnite made $296 million in 1 month. That's amazing. So they're happy. Epic Games is clearly happy.
But look at the value it's the value for money. Fortnite made that much money because... Dude, it's $20 for a Raven skin. That is so dumb. Like, my friends all bought it. It's like, you guys, $20, like, okay... Say what you will about Warmind, but the amount of content you get in Warmind is more than a single skin in Fortnite.
I'm okay with that.
I think it ingratiates people, though, because...
But the reason people justify it is that it's free.
Exactly.
People feel like they owe the game because they're having so much fun in it.
Exactly. Like, I would be okay with Eververse if all the other content was free. Like, I would be okay if Warmind was free.
If Warmind was free,
I will be okay with the
Iron Banner thing.
Exactly. I will be okay with that. But of course, we just spent money on that, and then you want to charge us for the emote? Come on.
Yeah.
That's my issue. For the emote as it was for the DLC.
I just think this game is so complex, and there's so many more layers to this game as opposed to COD, Battlefield, or Fortnite that. I get the $60 and make everything free. I just don't think it's ever going to happen because of the complexity of the game.
I think it can happen.
I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong on this situation.
I think look what they're already doing, and they already have Eververse in place. They could push it more because people would be more willing to buy Eververse stuff because they're getting everything free.
Expand on Eververse a bit if you make everything else for free.
Yeah. We're kind of looking at more like the Warframe. I mean, Warframe does it, right? But we're looking at the Warframe model. We're looking at the Fortnite model. They could go like an Elder Scrolls Online model, where you have like the kind of small updates in between. Then you have the large expansions, and you pay for the large expansions. But then you can also have like the premium membership, where you get a bunch of gold each month, and you can buy from the cash shop, and yada yada yada. And that's like what, $14?
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, it's all free.
Yeah. I feel like if they keep charging for expansions, then the game is not going to do too well. Because look, we have Anthem
every
and
expansion.
Division 2 is about to come out.
It's always a diminishing return, yeah.
Like other games are starting to have these free updates, these free expansions and things like that. So I feel like Bungie has to switch to that in order to like stay alive.
Honestly, I think that's a good point. I think they're gonna have to consider it because, you know, Destiny still came out at the time when everyone was charging for expansions.
Yep.
But now, with Battlefield and Call of Duty,
Yeah, that's
massive games
huge.
saying we are not doing premium, we're not doing paid expansions, everything's going to be free. And who knows? There's other games, Division 2 and Anthem may follow suit.
Exactly.
And if they do, if the direct
It's
competitors
gonna be really
come
hard to
out,
compete.
dude, if Division 2 or Anthem comes out and they're like free DLC, boys, that's gonna be huge. And Destiny's like Destiny, if Anthem and Division are both saying that they're doing, you know, just an in-game store, free DLC, it's going to be really hard for Bungie and Activision to justify $40 expansions. They're not going to be able to justify it. They're not, and they're going to have to change.
Now,
especially if Anthem comes out swinging and their story is more like a Mass Effect type story, but
it has to have
than
good
like what Destiny has done.
mechanics.
I mean, I don't think it will be.
Yeah.
But like they keep saying, oh yeah, no, the story's going to be focused. Story's going to be focused. So benefit of the doubt, because I like Casey Hudson. He created, you know, basically created Mass Effect.
Now,
you know, so benefit of the doubt. And I want to see an underdog survive. I want BioWare to come back. I don't want them to close down after this game flops.
Yeah. If the game flops.
I don't think it's gonna flop. I think it's gonna be a good game.
Just a quick note on that. Did you guys hear that Ubisoft is also pushing to release the Division 2 the same month as Anthem, March of 2019? Now that's
it's
only one game is going to win that month.
That's just dick. That's being mean.
It's rumors, and I think it's also like Q4 doesn't mean March 100%. I don't think anyone knows when those games are releasing. I don't think they know. They probably still have some flex in a release date, right? So they don't know when they're going to release. If Division comes out and says March, Anthem could be like, all right, April. You know what I mean? Like they could get some space.
April would be a new fiscal year, and they
don't want to do that, but to avoid the Division 2, maybe. You never know, right?
Yeah.
So
especially if Anthem, because Anthem has a lot of backlash and stuff. I want it to be good. I really desperately want it to be good. I mean, how cool is that? It's like a Destiny type game. I mean, even the story is kind of similar. Last city behind a wall, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But you're in like Iron Man suits.
Yeah.
Did anybody think that when they had the Anthem trailer, you initially thought it was Destiny?
I made a video about that, good sir.
Yeah, because they had a big ass wall. I'm like, oh my god, wait a second, did they queue up the wrong video? And then and then I was like, oh wait, this is a different game.
We're 3 weeks away from more gameplay on Anthem and the Division 2, so I'm really excited for that.
I'm more hyped about Anthem than I am Division, though.
Yeah, I feel like both
Division got so much better though.
Yes.
Like, well, no, I got addicted to it around Christmas. Holy crap! 1.8 made a huge difference.
Yep.
This comes from a dissidence thing where I'm like pumping a guy in a hoodie, you know, with like 800 rounds. And he's not going down, but like if I do that to a robot, it makes sense to me somehow.
You know what? Honestly, I thought the same way, but then once I started to understand the the Division and how to play it, my whole attitude changed on that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you just lose yourself. It's an RPG. You lose yourself in the grind. Like the Division has like the classic Destiny 1 proper grind and for loot, and like the Division does perks right. Like the Division, the perks are like probably some of the best designed perks I've ever seen in a game, where it's like there is multiple god perks depending on what you're using. Like there's a perk out there where if you use a skill, you do 10% more damage. All right, so skill focused builds are gonna love that perk. But then if you're not using a bunch of skills, you probably just want headshot damage increased by 12% or whatever, right? So depending on what you're doing, you have different god rolls. Or even in Destiny 1, which we're all looking back to, it was still severely flawed. The only reason we're looking back to it is because Destiny 2 was even more problematic. But like even Destiny 1 had like the clear god rolls that everyone agreed on. That shouldn't be the case. You should have multiple god rolls depending on your playstyle, depending on your other gear.
Yeah, that is one thing. Destiny should have gone more to like expanding what it meant to be playing a class. I'll go back to Mass Effect on this one. Like you had the Vanguard, you know, you had like the like 50 different ways to play a Vanguard in Mass Effect 3, you know, or a tech guy or whatever. Destiny needs to take their Warlock class and like, okay, what does it mean to be a Warlock? Where's my Sun Singer? You know, all this other stuff, and then they need to make exotics, make perks that really synergize with that. But
you know what? To piggyback off of what you're saying, you do kind of get a little bit of a feel of that when you're doing Escalation Protocol, because when you have the Titan and the Warlock and the Hunter, you're thinking, okay, here's the level 7 boss. Let's tether Titan, hit him with melting point, or better yet, boop him with the tractor cannon, and then Warlock come in with the void and take him out. Like that, you do get a feel of that, but it's just a small little taste.
Yeah, but I mean, at that point, like, because the Titan isn't necessarily necessary. Just somebody with a tractor cannon.
Nope, you got to bubble to distract him.
Bubble or melting
you.
point or melting point. It still has the same effect.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
You do get that sense of synergy between the classes.
Just needs to be more.
Oh my god, yes. Oh my god. It's like that's the only part that you really, really feel that. And I wish desperately that with this gear sets that we see coming out hopefully in September, that they're taking a page out of the Division's book. Because I've been playing Division a lot. This week is it's one of the global events. Finally got my 6-piece classified set of the Reclaimer build. I feel so good playing with that build, because what I do is I put down a support station, which increases healing, acts as a automatic ammunition depot, so when you reload, you don't lose any ammo. And with each piece that you get, you unlock more of that support station. So, like, let's say it lasts for 15 seconds if you have 4 pieces. With 5 pieces, now it's 30. With 6 pieces and a really high skill score, that son of a bitch can sit there for a minute and a half, man, and you can literally see chunks of health just coming back. And it's just like, that is my specific skill set. That is what I like to do. Mm-hmm. There's nothing like that in this game right now. I hope we get stuff like that.
Hopefully in the fall.
Yeah, because then you can really start synergizing between the classes and not only creating a build for yourself, but then the question that starts to come into your mind is, if I use this setup, how does it support the team that I'm going to be in? Mm-hmm. Right now, it's kind of like, what are you rocking? I got Midnight, I can't think of any of the guns right now. Just let me look at them. I have them all in front of me right now. Right now, I'm rocking Better Devils, Graviton Lance, and Sins of the Past. Yeah. You may have 3 other people with the same exact setup. Why? Because it's one of the best. Mm-hmm. I mean, Graviton Lance is one of the best scout rifles in the game.
Scout rifle?
I get it.
Thank you.
We see what you did there.
It's fun as shit.
Yeah.
But there's very little diversity right now in the game.
Yeah. Hopefully
that's all. I guess I could have said that at the very beginning. Very little diversity. I'd like to see it spread out a lot more.
Yeah, they have.
We need more depth. We just need more depth. Mm-hmm. We're very smart individuals here. Take advantage of that intelligence.
Joker, I'm gonna pass it on to you for lore facts.
Alrighty then, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages. So, since Warmind came out, I've been seeing some discussion about the nature of the Black Garden on the Destiny subreddit for lore. And I started to kind of research it again, because I've talked about this in the past, and I wanted to go ahead and throw my hat in on it. So basically, people are wondering if it's Zul's throne world. Okay, this actually kind of makes sense. Not necessarily if it's Zul's throne world, because we don't actually know if worm gods have throne worlds. We know this is a creation of the Hive. We don't know if worm gods have it. We know that they go into the deep and that they can exist in the deep, but we don't know if the throne world and the deep are the same thing. So it is kind of one of those like weird gray places that we just don't have enough information to definitively speak on. But I did want to talk about the nature of the Black Garden, because it does, from everything that we know about throne worlds, Hive throne worlds like Oryx's throne world or Crota's throne world, it does behave similarly. Oh, sorry. Got distracted. Thanks, JRAM. Anyways, so they behave similarly. So what this could be, and I guess I should explain how they behave similarly. These worlds are outside of both space and time. They exist in kind of a pocket dimension that the owner creates and that their spirit can retreat to. Now, we don't necessarily see that with the Black Garden. What we do see with the Black Garden is it does exist outside time and space. That's one of the first things we're told about it, and that there is an entity at the center of it. Now, if we go to Crota's throne world, it exists outside time and space, and once we got to the center of it, and destroyed the entity, it became locked to our reality. This is how we can go back into it in, say, the some of the Taken King missions where we have to go take Crota's essence to become an Ascendant Hive, and we did it without going through the entire raid again. Again, that's kind of speculative, but we drop right in there, so I assume it's world lock, just like the Black Garden became world lock after we beat the Heart of the Black Garden. It's actually locked inside Mars. You can now access it without using an interdimensional portal, and even the Dreadnought to some point acts like this as well, because the Dreadnought is Oryx's throne world kind of turned inside out and stitched to the corpse of Akka, and it gets a little weird. But going back to the Black Garden, now this is something, because people are like, well, is it something the Vex made, or is it something that the Traveler made, or is it something that a Hive made? Now, in the lore, if you go to Ghost Fragment, the Legends Black Garden, we read that it says, there are gardeners here now. They came into the garden in vessels of bronze, and they moved through the groves and rivers of thought. Now, this is clearly the Vex. So this is not something that they built. It is something that they found. So who could have created it? Well, we do know that the Traveler, again, at the beginning of the Black Garden Legends card, we do know that the Traveler moved across the face of the Iron World being Mars. We see this at the beginning of Destiny 1. It opened up the earth and stitched up the sky. It made life possible. In these things, there's always symmetry. Do you understand? This is not the beginning, but it is the reason. So we know that the Traveler put something inside Mars. Okay, and this is, if you extrapolate a little bit, it's probably the Black Garden. But again, it doesn't say that it created the Black Garden. One of the other things, though, is if we go to Ghost Fragment Mysteries 2, I believe, which I was trying to find, we read that some kind of entity lives beneath the tunnels of Mars. And it's seen in this vision. It's actually really interesting. And if you're reading into the card, it talks about this same symmetry where 1 minute it's talking about the light and the Traveler, the next minute it's talking about the darkness and death and life, and it's just kind of very symmetrical. So it comes off again as something dark was placed beneath Mars, like imprisoned. And again, with Nokris and Zul, we kind of see that same thing. They were imprisoned in the ice. Okay? So one of the kind of things that we're coming around to is, could the Black Garden then have been Nokris's throne world? Now, we know that Nokris gave something to Zul. In the lore tabs that the web lore that they added, it says that Nokris gave Zul his heart as like a sacrifice or something for power. We don't necessarily know what that means. Again, there's a lot of unknowns here. So a lot of this is, unfortunately, speculation. Could he have given him his throne world? Could Nokris not have a throne world? We don't know anymore. You assume that we killed Nokris and he just retreated back to his throne world, but we never get any hint of that. We kill Zul and we're like, well, did he retreat somewhere else? We simply don't know. What is interesting, though, like I said, is the Black Garden does exhibit a lot of the same qualities as these other throne worlds. So if it is a throne world, if it wasn't, it obviously wasn't created by the Vex, but it was utilized by the Vex to harness darkness, then whose throne world is it? And that's kind of where it's at right now.
Savathun's.
Yeah, I said it, Savathun's. Did you watch my video? Did you?
Sorry, no.
Probably not. That was like legit my first video, and I have this like 40-minute discussion going into like mythology and Greek mythology and literary symbolism about roses and about Zeus and Hera and how like Crota is like an incest baby, and
it's deep stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
It is.
I just thought, what's the other powerful Hive guy out there, or Taken, should say, or both?
Yeah, it's just that's not necessarily like a lore facts, but it is kind of an interesting lore discussion. That's going on right now, and I'm just throwing out the the relevant information for that. Draw your own conclusions.
Do you think Savathun will be the main focus for the fall expansion?
Probably.
I
Yeah.
hope not.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people saying maybe it's the Reef about Prince Aldrin and all that, and the Queen and all that. Some are saying Savathun. I don't really know clearly.
I think there needs to be, if it's the Reef, it's. I think because I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think if it's the Reef, it's definitely going to be a civil war between, or it needs to be a civil war, I should say, between Aldrin and the Techions. Because there does seem to be a bit of betrayal going on there. Even if you read the Telesto card, you know, it seems like the Paladins are working with Aldrin, but the Techions are off doing their own thing. It definitely, if you read into the kind of the Taken King Grimoire cards about the Queen and about what was going on prior to the battle with the Orcs at the Rings of Saturn, it definitely comes off that the Queen was betrayed by the Techions.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, who would have, you know, if she was betrayed, who would benefit from that? Well, most likely the Nine. So, and it also goes back to, why did Aldrin build an army of fallen? If he was welcome back in the Reef, if he could, you know, take the, you know, the Paladins under, you know, he's the prince. You know, he would be the next in command, but Petra's still playing regent. So, you know, even if they are a matriarchal society, one would assume that there is some level of inheritance based on, you know, titles and, you know, lineage. So it kind of goes to this, what plot lines could they do? And I want to see, I think that the woman at the, the emissary, I think the emissary is the Queen. And I think that we are looking for like a full-on civil war between the Techions, Prince Aldrin, and the Nine. That would be a really cool story.
But they have to do it right. They have to really explain it. Right. They have to do it right.
They would have to explain a lot of things. I think Savathun is easier because it's this just big fuck off hive god that you come in and you shoot. You know, with the
again, they still have to do that right too. They can't just put a god in here and be like, kill her. Or him.
It's like
another god to kill.
Yeah,
like just do Taken King over
with the sidearm.
Yeah,
yeah.
I just feel like if we keep killing these gods, at some point we're going to have to lose at some point. Yeah, we kind of lost, but then in this, which one? It was
5 hours later.
Like the third mission, we got our powers back. It wasn't really a loss, but like
then you didn't tell Zavala.
Yeah, I really want to
my powers. You're like, sorry, dude, that sucks, bro.
Yeah, like, oh gosh. Oh, anyway, but yeah. Whatever way the fall expansion goes, they just have to do it right.
I think Taken Queen would be fairly easy. I mean, just do Taken King again.
Gosh, do not call it that. Do not call it Taken Queen.
I think the most important thing to remember is that expansion 1 and 2 were kind of already done before Destiny 2 came out. Right?
Of course, yeah.
They couldn't right the ship. Whereas this new expansion, this is like they have had time to look at the feedback. So this, if anything is going to save D2, it's going to be this fall expansion.
Well, I have to imagine that the story was probably already in some level.
It was probably in pre-production.
Yeah. When Destiny 2 came out, so you know, regardless of feedback, we're still looking at a ship to use Skillup's analogy. We're still, you know, in the 500 feet or something of stopping, or 5 miles of stopping. That's what it was. You know, to course correct, and probably they're still going to be seeing some of that with Taken Queen.
All right, great segment, Joker. Let's move on to Tell Me Something I Don't Know, where our host here and our guest tells me a random fact about anything. It could be a weird fact, fun fact, boring fact, but please don't make it a boring fact. Interesting fact, math fact, but you guys get the gist. So I will go first for my interesting fact. It's pretty funny, I think. Did you guys know that your thumb is the same size as your nose?
And I almost feel like you're like waiting for me to check.
And everyone's doing it. Yeah, it's just a pretty interesting fact that I found out today. Actually, I was like, hey, I gotta share that with the guys tonight. Yeah.
Did you know from your palm to the top of your middle finger is the same? Oh, anyways.
Yeah. Well, Joker, your fact for this week.
So actually, went to did the Pearl Harbor monument thing.
Oh.
And on the ship, they actually have I think it's what is it? What's the Missouri? I want to say is the ship. They have a they have a shrine like a exhibit to a kamikaze pilot that hit the plane, and or that flew his plane into the side of the boat, and didn't kill anyone, didn't hurt anyone, died himself. But when they were cleaning off the wreckage, they found his body, and a lot of the people just wanted to throw it overboard, right? But the captain demanded that no, they take him and they bury him with honors at sea. A lot of people were not happy about this, but you know what? The next day, the guys stayed up all night because you would be buried with the flag of your country. You know, the guys stayed up all night, like they made a Japanese flag and they buried him with full honors.
Wow.
You know, because you know the captain was like he's one of us. You know, he's a soldier working. You know, doing what he had to do for his country.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Wow.
And
I did not know that. Thank you.
yeah, it's really good. You look into it. It's an insanely like
Nice.
moving story because the captain didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
They were at war, you know, but it was like you had to believe that when you're at a war like that, you have to believe that you are morally right, and you have to act morally right, and that was the right thing to do, you know. And it would have been hard for anybody to do.
And I believe the ship you're talking about is the USS Arizona, right? Or was there actually a USS Missouri? Because I totally forgot.
There were all of them. I
there
think
were a
I
lot.
want to say the Arizona is the one at the bottom of the yeah, with a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Bottom. I think the Arizona is the one with the monument over it though.
Yeah.
But they actually have a full-on battleship that you can go in and like walk around and
I have to go there.
see the insides out. Oh, dude, it's awesome.
That's on my list of things to do in life.
Oh, it is amazing. I thought it'd be kind of boring, but like we went there and we were like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Nice. Rick, your random fact for us.
Okay, so I was like hoping I get a better one, but so I used to be really into dinosaurs when I was a kid. So you guys want to hear a dinosaur fact?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, no, I love
Awesome.
dinosaurs.
I love dinosaurs.
So most people when they think of like big, you know, dinosaurs like the T-Rex, big, you know, it's all about the head and the teeth and something. There was one dinosaur called I think it was the Therizinosaurus, and its thing was, I remember seeing this as a kid and being blown away. This thing had claws that were 3 feet long. They were just like legit, like claws like this big, probably bigger, like this big, and just massive claws. And people, they're not 100% sure why, like it did. They thought maybe for defense. Obviously, you hit someone with it, you're gonna fuck someone up, you know, pretty hard with that. I think it's pretty clear. There's another thing where they thought maybe it would put its claws or put its hands on tree branches, and it would kind of, since they're heavy, obviously very heavy, it would pull the tree branches down and it could eat it.
I'm looking at it right now, and it is scary.
Awesome.
Is it wild?
Look that
Yeah,
up.
dude.
I got the name right? Good.
Yeah.
Throw the link in the chat.
Yeah.
right.
Okay. I'm
I kinda
a
wanna see
bad
this.
speller.
Wild.
I'm a bad speller. Sweet. Thank you. That's awesome. J-Ram, your random fact for us this week, man.
Oh, okay. So, let's see here. Which one can I do? Okay, I got one. Jay, if you were to measure your shoulder to your finger, write that number down as the numerator of a fraction. Then you measured from your elbow to your finger. Write that number as the denominator. You will get approximately a number around 1.68. Okay? Now, if you did the same exact thing, but you did your middle knuckle to your end of your middle finger, and then, or I'm sorry, the knuckle on your hand to your middle finger, and then the middle knuckle to your middle finger, same thing, larger number in the numerator, smaller number in the denominator, you will get 1.68 roughly, again, depending on how well you can measure things, all right? That number, ironically, comes up in all living objects. And mathematicians a long time ago coined the number the golden ratio, or God's number, because they believed that if you're a living creature, this ratio was existent in everything. And you've seen it everywhere around you. For example, Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo da Vinci drew the Vitruvian Man, which is that naked guy that's like this, spread out. And if you were to measure any ratio on his body, like from his hip to his leg, and then his knee to his leg, that ratio is 1.68. And like I said, mathematicians thought, wow, this is really interesting that this number pops up all the time in living creatures. Even if you take a little b and you measure from his head to his butt, and then from his abdomen or wherever that really big part of his butt is to, from the middle of him to his butt, you still get that number. If you look at the monitors that we use to play games on our TVs, the 16:9, it's approximately 1.6. In fact, it's a little bit more like 2, but the screen size itself is approximately this 1.68 number. And it's just, like I said, it's just everywhere. And it's fascinating when you see stuff like this, because a long time ago, it was very hard for scientists to kind of separate the idea of science and religion. They were both intertwined. They were both like in bed all the time. So they really fought with this idea, and that's, like I said, why they kind of coined it the golden ratio or God's number. Because when you look at this stuff, in all living things, it's there. Even if you take Fibonacci sequence, which I don't know if we're familiar with that. It's the numbers are 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and what you do is you take 1 plus 1, you get 2. You take 1 plus 2, you get 3. You take 2 plus 3, you get 5. But if you were to draw a square that has a 1, where all the sides are a length of 1, and then you did the next Fibonacci sequence number, which would be a 1 again. So you do that and you piggyback off of the first square. And then the next one would be 2, and you draw a square piggybacked off of those 2. And you kept doing that. You would create this spiral when you did the arc length of each of these big squares. And for those that are listening to the podcast, do yourself a favor, just Google this. But it creates the golden spiral, and you see that everywhere in hurricanes.
I put it in the chat, actually, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
You put it in, or I mean, you could see it in hurricanes, how they form. And, the little buds on a sunflower, how they just spiral down. And a seashell that you find walking on the beach, it has that spiral to it. It's just absolutely fascinating. And that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with mathematics, is because it just kind of starts to explain the natural world around you. So there you go.
Thank you for enlightening us. Thank you.
Yeah, I always try to bring in something mathematical.
In fact, the golden ratio is actually used a lot in like Renaissance art, because a lot of artists would try to recreate that. That's where I know it from.
No, you're absolutely correct, because for some reason, that ratio, that number, is the most pleasing object for our eyes to focus on.
Yeah, we like symmetry. And
absolutely.
we like, stuff like that.
Yep.
Our brains actually start to malfunction when we don't see what we like with things like symmetry and whatnot. We think it's bad or whatever. It could be the best piece of art ever. Yeah. But if it's not like symmetrical or whatever, we won't have a preference for it.
Yeah. Sweet.
All right. So there's my fact.
Thank you, J-Ram. Thank you. So moving on to our last word segment, there's always something good that's happening. Sometimes the soul and the madness and the hate usually overshadows that. But this week's last word, I'm actually going to give it to the site owner of the tracker network, Zorth. He works so hard. Zorth owns the Fortnite tracker, Destiny tracker, Halo tracker, Call of Duty tracker, Anthem tracker, all those tracker network sites. And he works so hard each and every day to keep all these sites up and running. He stays up long hours, just working hard to make sure that the community gets their stats on everything, the databases for the content creators, and the stats for your Crucible and your Fortnite stats and all those stats. And I just want to give him a huge shout out for it, and thank him for everything that he does for the tracker network and for the video game community as a whole. So thank you, Zorth. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the DTR podcast. Thank you so much, Kackis, for joining us this week here on the podcast. You are a great guest.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Amazing.
It was a fun show. It was awesome. Thank you. J-Ram, Joker, as always. Thank you, guys. I've missed you guys last week. And J-Ram, of course, we missed you the week before that. It was great to have you guys back.
For me, finals, all that shit was wrapping up.
Dude, we completely understand. Rough. Of course, we understand. It's great to have you back. Yeah. All right, guys. So, where can we find you guys on social media? Kackis, you first.
YouTube, Kackis HD, probably know that. Twitter, which is fun under the radar right now, but it's lit. It's just at Rick Kackis, so like Rick and then Kackis, like from the channel, and there's always some spicy memes posted there quite often, and it'll actually let you know when I upload videos, because YouTube has decided that if you're subscribed to someone, who cares about that?
Exactly.
That doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
that's basically the two main places.
Sweet. Joker.
You can find me at Darkside Royalty Lore on YouTube and DSR_Joker on the Twitter nets.
Awesome. J-Ram.
You can find me on Twitter, J_Rambo9119, or you can find me watching either Joker's or Rick's videos, because they're both top notch. I fucking love these guys, man. Like, Rick, you don't know that, but I do. I get so excited when I hear you say Rick, and then you pause, and then you throw in the last name, and I love that. I'm like, this guy's great.
That's
Like
awesome.
that, it sells it every single time. And I will watch both your videos collectively multiple times, because you guys just do really. They're well thought out.
It's great.
Full of information, and there's always little nuggets in there that I kind of remember, you know. And Rick, I love how you said earlier, escalation protocol, is this a means to an end, or is this the end?
Oh,
You know, that's a really profound statement, and I kind of think that's maybe one of the struggles Bungie has sometimes when they design things.
Yeah.
You know, is where does this fit in the scope of everything else?
They didn't even know within 2 paragraphs of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their communication's so bad within the studio, even though it's like the same person talking. It's just yeah.
How do you write, like, whatever? How do you write one sentence and then, like, 2 sentences later write a contradictory one when you're trying to give news to the community about something?
Yeah, I mean, they don't do it
Did
all
anyone
that often, but they did
proofread
it this
that?
time.
Yeah, like, did anyone even proofread that? Who cares?
Anyways, J-Ram, I got a video that you're gonna like coming up. Now I'm teasing this. I'm teaser ponying this, and it's gonna have a lot of theoretical physics. I might actually just send you the script on that.
I think I remember you talking about that the last time we spoke.
It's gonna be time travel and stuff.
I used to work with a guy that taught theoretical physics at Carnegie Mellon University, and like sometimes, like, I would sit down at lunch and eat with him. Within 5 minutes, I'm like, I'm confused. I mean, this guy was on a different level. Fantastic individual, but like, I would see him at his desk. He was one of those. He would have these like massive noise canceling headphones. Well, I thought they were headphones. They were not headphones. They were the same ear noise canceling things that the people on battleships wear to direct the planes. He just didn't want to talk to anybody, so he put these things on his head.
Wow.
So he wouldn't hear anything.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you got it made, man.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, he's living in like 2030 already.
Oh yeah, he was sweet. He was sweet.
Sweet. So you guys can find me on Twitter at J_DTR, Destiny Tracker on Twitter at Destiny Track, and at the Fortnite Tracker, and at the Tracker Network on YouTube at Destiny Tracker and the Tracker Network, and on Twitch at Destiny Track. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the DTR podcast. My name is Jay, and we see you all later. Bye, Guardians.
Stay frosty.